All right, we are live. Let's get the other Facebook groups in here before it's officially time to go. I'm always afraid I'm going to click on those Colts channels as well for
Say
chat
hello to
over
the
there.
Colts.
Maybe
The
it'd be
way
a
the
little bit
Colts are
more.
playing right now, that wouldn't be such a bad thing.
Yeah, man, the Colts. I enjoyed that game Saturday night. A lot of fun. That Colts team. I'm almost sad that they play indoors because with how that team plays defense in the trenches and runs the football, you put that team, that exact roster, and plug them in Pittsburgh, maybe like 2 or 3 more wins, and just impossible to beat that team. But here we are, guys. Welcome in. It is 8:33 where I'm at, so probably 7:33 where you are. I am back in the Midwest, back in Iowa
9:33
in my
here and 6:33
9.
where he used to be. So we try and get it
Gosh,
all covered. And if we've got, I saw Ethan already in here, and so let's see, 5 hours later. I was told there'd be no math. What is it, about 2:30 in the afternoon in England?
who knows? Gosh, it's a Broncos country. Broncos o'clock somewhere, everywhere, and Broncos country is always a state of mind, not a place. So welcome in, guys. It is time for Broncos for breakfast. Following, unfortunately, not disgusting, but a disheartening loss, 15-10, with the Broncos postseason's hopes pretty much all but fading away as the Broncos lose to the Bengals. There's still a chance. I think it's mathematically, it's more math here, 7%. If the Broncos win out, I think the odds go up to 96%. But to go 3-0 down the stretch with 2 games on the road and a win at home against Kansas City might be a little rough, but hey, we're still playing for something. Wouldn't give up just yet. I'm not giving up just yet. So we're going to focus on some positives today and recap that game. We got DWI guys coming in here right now. Let's forget about talking about the now. We got the DWI guys. If you want to talk about the future with super chats, God bless. We'll do that. Wilson or Rogers, it's time. Make it happen, Peyton. Correct. 2:33. It's
It is
2:33 over
2:33 in
there.
the
Yep.
afternoon.
Yes. Wilson or Rogers, it's time. Broncos are going to be aggressive there. They tried last year. They were interested in Watson at first. Then all the stuff came up. They obviously backed out on that. They thought they had a really good shot at Rogers, and that didn't come out. But they're going to be aggressive this year at the quarterback position, and it was painful to watch yesterday. Quarterback struggle. It wasn't all on the quarterbacks, without a doubt. But we're going to get into that further down. But thank you so much, Ethan. Thank you. Always supporting us, man. DWI guys, always just a big support for us on the show. Make sure you guys are following Scott and myself on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell, MHH. Also, make sure you are following us at Huddle Up Pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. Am I breaking up? Am I okay?
No, you're okay. I didn't know if you mentioned the 15-10 symbolic super from DWI from Ethan. I just saw the 15 and I looked up. I'm like 15-10. I'm like, oh yeah, there you go. Good job.
Of course. Yeah, that's man, Broncos need to be winning some games 199. That would be better for us for the super chats. But follow us at Huddle Up Pod and I'm clicking it. There it is, at Mile High Huddle. Also, make sure you're following us on the Facebook accounts at facebook.com. Oh man, it's slow for me today. Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And make sure you guys subscribe, like, and share. So Scott, can you hear me? It's a little bit clunky for me on my end right now.
I can hear you, but you are a little bit clunky. You might want to knock your the resolution down on your camera in the settings. It might be up super high at 1080, 720, and knock it down to standard 480 or something like that. I run mine at 720 right now. But yeah, it was what at least I expected. Last time we were here on Thursday, we did our predictions, and I said 19-16 Bengals. I expected a few more field goals, and the Broncos were in position to kick a few of those field goals, which would have given them the 16 that I predicted for them. But between turnovers, missed field goal, missed opportunities, things that weren't that hard. I keep hearing people say this is a Jekyll and Hyde team. No, it's not. This team is entirely predictable. So far, it has followed a very clear pattern. We are 14 games in. If the team is strong in the trenches, they beat the Broncos. Full stop. That's it. It's not Jekyll and Hyde. It's not that you play better against a team at a different time. It's who you're playing. And who you're playing, it's like I said, it's completely predictable. The Cincinnati Bengals could run the ball and stop the run. They weren't very good against the pass, but the Broncos aren't very good passing the ball. So it was, unfortunately for the Broncos, very predictable. And I've said this one gives you a little closure, honestly. You lose to this game. This was a game you had to win. Yes, you're mathematically still alive. This is a game you had to win, and I feel like you get some closure on this one. It's going to be the turnover that you really want to get a fresh start with a new general manager and a young, really good young squad.
Yeah, no, totally correct. I think this is probably I am tearing up that Pat Shermer sympathizer card today after that game because woof, what a terrible game plan from him. And I'll take the lashings there. You guys can come at me for that one. There's just bad on both sides. I do think that I did overall like that. And I talked to somebody in the Broncos organization after the game that they have a set of plays that the backup quarterback green dots before the game because like, hey, this is what I'm comfortable running in a short kind of situation. That zone read RPO look in the red zone. Guess who green dotted it? Your quarterback who made the bad decision. So everybody's like, why would Shermer call that? That's one of the plays that was okayed by the backup quarterback. So he's getting some ownership.
At that and there's multiple failures on that play. Everybody wants to try and pick out one blame. Okay, yes, it was true. Yes, it was Shermer on this, but you see those plays run all the time with guys who aren't going to hand the ball off. They're not going to run it. So why was that play called? Well, to hand it off. The play you don't expect Drew to keep it in that time, and if he does, then so. Oh, it was a bad play call. It was poorly executed, and unfortunately it encapsulates kind of you got the full Drew Lock experience in a quarter and a half where he comes in and provides a spark, gets everybody excited, and then drops the ball. Unfortunately, in order to be a productive quarterback in the NFL, you need about a 3-to-1 ratio on those big plays, touchdowns, etc., to the turnovers. And in his career to this point, it's been 1-to-1, and that's not good enough. That's not good enough for an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, no, totally. And I do think Drew Lock played better yesterday than we saw from Teddy Bridgewater. Who knows how the game plays out down the stretch? I mean, they were obviously close for a lot of the games. So Teddy didn't make the big mistake to get the game out of it. But the Broncos were totally inept on offense as well. And it was painful to watch. And I get that for Broncos country being frustrated about it. It was painful to watch. So again, I said it coming into this game. I did have the Broncos winning this game because I was, trying to bite the optimism here. Because why not? I mean, it doesn't hurt anything to be optimistic coming into the game.
Bengals. You're supposed to be able to beat the Bengals at home.
Yes, exactly. And it's just didn't work out that way. But I've been saying the Bengals offense, meh. But their defense, their efficiency metrics have been phenomenal this season. And they've looked like a really good defense. They beat everybody wants to talk about the quarterback, and rightfully so. I get it in the coaching, but like the Broncos offensive line, especially in pass protection, got whipped. They got whipped. Garrett Bowles, 2 holds, getting beat consistently by Trey Hendrickson. DJ Reader and Larry Ogunjobi whipping up the interior offensive line in the run and the pass. Bobby Massey struggling there at the right tackle in that first half. So, and people, Teddy holding on the ball too long. But the pressure is getting there. The offensive line, we've said it. People are like, oh, Teddy Bridgewater can't play with the lead, blah, blah, blah. It's equally, maybe not equal, 25-75 offensive line. The offensive line, very good at rush blocking, very good at run blocking. Pass protection, 3rd and long, good luck. Somebody's getting beat. They've been that way all season. So it was an unfortunate game. It was close. The defense pretty much did everything it could, but offensive failure, rinse, wash, repeat, what we've seen for the last 5 seasons, unfortunately. But Chris, always rinse, wash, and repeat on this. Chris supporting us in the morning here. Good morning. Good to see you guys. Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. The Grinch, I'm feeling very Grinchy this morning as well. I'm trying to fight that inherent bias for the Grinchiness, but is what it is. We also got Miguel coming in saying, good morning, fellas. I'm hoping to end the season above 500 so I can lick my wounds. Oh, man, Scott, are the Broncos going to finish above 500? 8-9, 9-8.
7-7 right now, 3 to go. Kansas City loss. Raiders, you think should be a win. And then Chargers loss. 8-9.
8-9. Okay. Well, the question is, I guess, really, do the Chiefs have anything to play for Week 18? Are they going to be playing Chad Henne?
Yeah, and some of the questions in here, and Miguel appreciates this. Good morning, fellas. I'm hoping to end the season. You did read that.
Yeah. Thanks for the stars, Miguel.
Kids are home from school. I slept in just a little bit today, so coffee's just now kicking in. You don't know. I don't know. The Raiders are a disaster right now. I think the Chargers will be focused and give it your best shot. And I don't think the Chiefs, I think they'll have something to play for, 1, and 2, we don't want to lose the Broncos. Yeah. So I think no matter if you're sitting at 8-8 going into that game, your decision's made if you're George Payton by then. You don't want am I going to bring this guy back or not? Bring all these guys back or not? Based on one game, that's too small a sample size. So if you're sitting at 8-8 going in, you probably, in fact, he's probably already got his mind made up. If you ask me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Miguel, and also Gary coming in here. Gary Leeds Palmer, always leading the way for us with the support here. Thank you so much, Gary. It's great to see you. Good morning. Gary's always a source of bright light and optimism on the chat, so we appreciate that. We also got Peter Middleton coming in. Oh, Broncos tree. It's either the poop emoji or a tree emoji, but
it is a Christmas tree. So, oh, here it says, "Oh, Broncos."
I wasn't sure if he was going for the Christmas tree little tune there, but we also got Luke Wright coming in. Morning, boys. Merry Christmas. It's a sad Monday. It is a sad Monday, but we're here. Jetty Splash is in the house too. Sean Burns in the house. US Dave is in the house. EJ is in the house. Good to see you, EJ. A lot of people. DBA is in the house. Sean Ricciarelli is in the house. So good to see everybody in the chat here. Yeah, let's get back to this here. The Vic Fangio game, and I'll let you kind of look over the chat here since mine, for some reason, keeps kind of it's a little clunky this morning on my end. But
it's that Iowa internet.
It's that It's probably the Iowa internet. I don't know. Maybe I need to be closer to the router. But Vic Fangio, another game where his decision making is tough, but from timeouts to the 6-point swing there to end the first half of the Broncos not being aggressive, pushing the ball down the field. McManus missing a 51-yard field goal, which you got to have. I mean, it's a 51-yard field goal. That's not a give me, but in that situation, like you're an NFL kicker, he'd be the first to tell you, like, I have to make that kick. But it's rough. I am not quite ready to, and this is tough for me to say from talking to people again. Some people in the facilities that I talk with, I don't think the book is yet written on Vic Fangio for this team. I think some of it has to do with the ownership situation being in flux and that type of how tough it is to pitch a job when you don't even know who your boss will be and what kind, especially one like head coach. Because what is my power going to be? Well, we'll tell you this, but it could shift drastically in 2 months. So come on in. We'll pay you, and somebody will take the money. Obviously, there's only 32 head coaching gigs, but it doesn't make them doesn't put them in a position of power for sure with that head coaching position. But I do think that the book is the book is probably written on Pat Shurmur. Just too inconsistent. They're going to have to make some offensive changes.
Well, and the question that you'd see says, I like Fangio as a defensive coach. I wouldn't mind him, coming back. I don't mind him as a head coach, but it's these other guys. Well, that's the whole package. That's the problem. When you've got a head coach, he's the one that's interviewing and making the hires for the most part. Now, George Payton will absolutely have a big say in this. In fact, he would have to rubber stamp any of those type of hires. So that's a good thing, because I don't want Vic Fangio picking the next guys if he is allowed to stay on board. But as far as it still sounds strange to me to hear him. But he is a young coach. He's not young, but he's still a newcomer coach. And I've seen him improve in his handling of the media and the head coaching, that part of it. Just watching his press conferences, yesterday, there was that's on me. He's protecting Drew Lock to a certain extent on the plays, not throwing guys under the bus when he could, depending on how you want to read it. And I'll actually read kind of with a negative bias. Like, I'm kind of expecting him to stick his foot in his mouth. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. So he is learning as a head coach. You'd rather that happen with a guy that's 35 instead of closer to 65. Yeah. But you hired a first-time head coach. There's growing pains that go with it. Now, make sure you've got the right guy coming in, and God bless George Payton. Go get him a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, that's the NFL, and that's a year ago screaming on these shows and whatnot, saying like the Broncos are going to be picking top 10. Drew Lock was poor in 2020. And it looked like a good quarterback class now. Most of the quarterbacks have struggled. Mac Jones finally looked human because, hey, guess what? He had to operate a drop-back passing game. I know, but it's
human. He's like mid-tier.
I know he is, but people are tripping over themselves.
No, I'm just you talk about bias. I'm going to be pissed if he wins Rookie of the Year. I'm going to be pissed.
He will. I'm just preparing myself because the media is tripping over themselves tonight. Mac Jones, even though he's been put in been in a high chair all season, but you know what? Credit to the coaching staff.
What a great metaphor.
He's credit to them though. It's a situation where it finally fell on him in that Colts game, and he looked vulnerable and made some bad decisions and didn't have the athleticism to create outside of structure. And those are all the things why Mac Jones was the 5th quarterback taken in the
No,
draft
I
last year.
like all the reasons. All the reasons that I liked Mac Jones before. I think he's even better than I was expecting. It's
Yeah,
just Jamar Chase has been a top 10 wide receiver versus,
yeah,
out of 150 wide receivers, he's in the top 10%, where,
hmm
you know, Mac Jones is in the top 50% of quarterbacks. Yippee.
yeah,
That's not a rookie of the year. I'd give it
yep.
to
And
Micah Parsons as rookie of the year before I'd give it to Mac Jones.
yeah, I think you have to have an offensive and a defensive, but maybe
I
he's
wasn't sure
created.
if they do an overall, but
Yeah,
if they do an
hell,
overall, Mac Jones wouldn't make my top 2.
no. I mean, honestly, they maybe should give it to Rashawn Slater. Offensive lineman never get the award, but he's been amazing this season,
There
and I
you
think
go.
that it's time. I mean, Tristan Wirfs didn't deserve it last year because Justin Herbert did Justin Herbert things, and he's incredible. But Tristan Wirfs is already the best right tackle in football, and he probably deserved some credit last year. But we got Peter coming in, deserving some credit, saying the draft talk and free agent signings will sure be interesting. Not forgetting a possible Manning et al. Ownership bid. That would be fun. But I would have preferred a win to really get the playoff chatter starting. It's on to next season. Um, I, yeah, it's kind of on to next season. We're still gonna have to cover these games, no doubt about it. But if the Broncos beat the Raiders next week with Drew Lock, who last year had I think a 4 interception game against the Raiders. I think they had more interceptions in that game than I think they had the rest of the season, or something close to that. The Drew Lock in Las Vegas game. So we'll see how that goes. But the Broncos still have a chance if they win out. And, you got to start next week 1-0, just like they had to win this week. But this is definitely a tough one. I think Justin Simmons even said it after the game, which is talk about a damning interview, saying, like, I told you guys coming into this week, this was a win or go home kind of game, and we lost. We went out there and competed, but it wasn't enough. And, I mean, it's real, but you don't do, I don't know if you want to hear that from your players or not, but
That's the defensive frustration talking.
yeah,
So we went out and held these guys to 15 points and lost. I'm pissed.
yeah.
Let me translate that. Let me translate that for you. That's what Justin Simmons just said.
Yep. And rightfully so, because the defense overall played a pretty good game. I think this would be a good good transition here to talk about the defense in this game. And thank you so much, Peter, for the comments. I'll let Scott pull up a chat here. Let's get to Lawrence first, because Lawrence, we don't want to keep you waiting, Lawrence. You're always a stud in
Especially
here and
buying us
helping us
coffee.
out.
There's a big coffee mug on there too. So especially buying us coffee in the morning. So
Hell yeah.
Lawrence, cheers. Broncos for breakfast. Several Broncos for lunch.
Yep.
Broncos 007 in the UK. So welcome.
Yep. And he says, all I got to say is that the ball was live when it got stripped from Drew, and it should have been out ball. Our
Should have
ball,
been
maybe?
our ball.
Yep, I feel like it was a bad ref call. Maybe it was a bad ref call, but the issue is Locke made another bad read on a RPO or zone read option. It was an obvious one where the defensive end was literally just sitting here like, "Hey, I'm not biting." Like, I took the wide angle to keep the quarterback contained, and Drew Lock kept the ball and tried to beat the guy to the outside. And it's another classic case of Drew Lock, doing too much. Scott, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I like to quote it on here because it's one of my favorites of all time. But it's the scene where Russell Brand and Paul Rudd are doing the surf lessons, Jason Segel and Paul Rudd, and it's like, oh, you got to do more than that. Oh, nope, you got to stand up. You can't do nothing. You got to. So it's like Teddy is the do nothing.
Well, you
Yeah,
can't do nothing. Yeah,
do nothing. That's Teddy. And then you have like, oh man, you got to do. Just do nothing. You telling him to do
I
nothing. That's
can
Drew Lock.
see your hoo-ha.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
I've seen it
such a
once
good
or
movie.
twice.
Such a good movie. But yeah, Teddy is the one, like, you got to do more than that. And Drew Lock is the one you got to do nothing. And classic Drew Lock trying to do too much. And he pulls the ball back in an obvious read where they have numbers. And because of that zone read, you're holding a defensive end. So that's a -1 in the run look. It's a positive situation. Just give the ball to your running back. Drew does too much, doesn't have ball protection, and the ball goes the other way. That being said, I'm not going to bury Drew for that play. I mean, maybe that one was the game, but you only put up 3 points in the first half. You did not do anything to help yourself offensively, and the ball was actually moving when they had Drew Lock in there. They had 2 red zone chances with Drew Lock. You can't live with the turnovers in today's NFL like he does, and that's always been the case with Drew Lock. That's what we argued coming into this year. I know that it definitely is more exciting, but like turnovers is, besides points, turnovers is the number one thing you cannot have in the NFL. So you can't do that. And again, we got Nico coming in here saying that Drew Lock fumble was 90% on the OC. Before the game, every single week, they have a play sheet they give a play sheet to the backup quarterback saying green dot the plays that you feel comfortable running. That was one of the plays. You could say it's a Shermer issue, but like, they're trying to get positive numbers in the red zone in the run game. And they did that with the quarterback option there. Drew made a bad call. At some point the players got to execute and not make the bad call. So I don't feel like Shermer has a lot of blame for that one. Maybe you can blame some of that on him, but I'm not going to. back to the defense, Scott. I know that you listen to the game, but anybody that specifically stands out for you in the defensive side, because I want to have a little bit of a positivity.
Yeah, it was it was tough for me, honestly. I had to listen to this one. I haven't gotten a chance to review it yet. I apologize. Um, just watching some of the highlights, but not the ins and outs of it. But um, when you're giving up 15 points and holding these guys down, you've got some big time receivers. So I want to ask you, based on what you know how I like to say, I like to have stats, but I like to have my eyes. You're going to be my eyes. So you explain these stats to me. The Broncos were able to basically limit across the board. So Joe Mixon was contained. Joe Mixon was contained. Really, really good running back in both the pass and the run. How? Where were the big time plays that kept Joe Mixon in check?
Yeah, the Broncos did not have. Defense played really good. They obviously gave up the backbreaker after the Broncos got the 10-9 lead, and that's the first game this season where the first team to 10 wins, or the first team to 10 points has won every game this season until this one, because the Broncos then gave up a touchdown 2 plays after getting up 10-9. That was really the only play in this game where it really killed me. That was obviously upsetting, and we can nitpick somewhat on the defense. Joe Burrow had, I think, like 4 plays where he tucked it and ran for the first down, where the defense just didn't have the length or discipline in their pass rush to keep Burrow contained, and then that kept the offense moving. And even though that maybe didn't lead to touchdowns, it just meant, with an extra 10, 15 yards more that when the Broncos did get the ball back, they had to go. And this offense obviously could not do that with the way the Bengals were playing. Bengals were essentially playing the methodology that the Broncos want to play offensively, where it's like, listen, our defense is fine as long as we don't turn the goddamn ball over. We're going to have a chance because we don't think that opposing offense is going to do anything. And they bet right.
Tell me a little bit about your linebackers. Baron Browning leads the team in tackles, and Jonas Griffith, who? I know who he is. I'm kidding, but nobody else does. Jonas Griffith comes in and gets 9 tackles, including a couple of quarterback hits.
Yeah, the linebackers were good. And this goes back to my this goes back to, not to pat myself on the back because I should get lashes, not backpacks or back pattings for the Pat Shermer sympathizer shtick. That's over. I'll bury that one. But Griffith, I thought, had a solid game. He's still probably just more so a backup in the long run. But the difference between Kenny Young and Jonas Griffith was negligible, if that. I thought they looked pretty good. And Baron Browning, what a game, what a play from him. His ability in the run game and his ability in the short pass game. He is a missile in the short pass game. So he's coming down and limiting yak opportunities, and he's a good one. Surtain and Browning both had excellent games for the most part. I think Surtain was partially responsible for that big backbreaker, but overall, it was a good game from them. Jonas Griffith, again, he's probably not your starter long-term, but I thought he played admirably. It was pretty close to Kenny Young, and I think it was way better than what we've seen from Curtis Robinson or Justin Strnad this season. So that's pretty much what you should expect from your 4th string linebacker. He didn't kill you.
Yeah, I think you're definitely going to come out of the draft with at least one more inside linebacker, right? I mean,
it depends on what happens with the free agents, but because you have 3 that are pretty big, and if you pay one of them, you probably come out of the draft with one decently early. But we'll see. You have positions at like the nickelback spot. What's going to happen there? Safety Kareem Jackson also got hurt in this game. I think he even carted off. And the offensive line could use some pass protection steps forward. Defensive line has been not great also this season. They got pushed back. But overall, I thought they were pretty good on first down. So it's frustrating, but I think that the defense played decently well overall. You're just going to have to look in the pass protection. 15 points isn't bad, but they also are not pressing the issue. Joe Burrow felt very comfortable in the pocket because he was never really forced to do anything too much, except when the Broncos had to blitz. And
listening to Chad and Zach, they complain all the time. They say the biggest problem, except for with an exception here or there, is with a Vic Fangio defense, is they don't create turnovers. There were, the Baltimore Ravens, the 85 Bears, you go back to some of these, one of the first may have been Gruden's first Tampa Bay team that he won the Super Bowl with. Those were attacking defenses that could actually go win you a game. Right now you're playing with a quarterback that's not going to win you a game and a defense that's not going to win you a game. You've got a bunch of things out there that aren't going to lose you the game. The defense, it didn't lose you this game. Teddy Bridgewater hasn't lost you games at quarterback, but they're not winning them either. So how are you winning them? Well, right now it's been, Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. If they play well, do some things, then that's how you're winning your games. But if they're
Mhm.
not, now what?
Yeah, they're both.
What's plan B? Where are your game winners out there? You've got a lot of, they're going to keep us in it, but not any game winners out there. And that falls at the quarterback position for me.
Yeah, they don't have the ability on either side of the ball besides the run game. But that's more limited than pass game, obviously, and what you can do explosive wise. But both of these, the defense and the offense, are, I would say, passive as far as dictating action. And I think this Broncos defense, the lack of turnovers, it's twofold for me. It's the Bengals were totally okay playing protect the football, safe, conservative offense. And they bet, like, as long as we don't turn the ball over this offense and give the Broncos offense good field position, we could probably win this game. Our defense is good enough. And they were exactly right to make that bet. So that was frustrating. The other thing is, so the Broncos, they don't force defenses or opposing offenses to play aggressive, high variance plays because they're not making the opponent think that they have to put up points, so they can just play it safe. And the other one is the Broncos just don't have pass rush. That's a big issue. They don't have any game winners, and pressure leads to turnovers, leads to bad decisions, and just we're simply not able to rush the passer consistently enough to create negative plays for the Bengals.
Yeah,
So it's frustrating.
If we started the season, say how many sacks combined do you think we'll get from Von Miller and Bradley Chubb?
Yeah,
20 to 25, I think would have been fair.
Yep.
How many are you going to get from Von Miller and Bradley Chubb this year? 6?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not very good. Although another shout out here. We'll get to DWI guys in a second. I think Bradley Chubb did have his best game of the season in this game as well. He was getting after the passer decently in this game. Maybe not like an alpha, but definitely the best he had this season. And one thing I love about Bradley Chubb, and this is, I don't know if you watched that piece that I sent you about the 2 high safety shells in the era of the NFL now, but you need some length and kind of the guys who can rush the passer while still playing multiple gaps and have integrity on your side. And I thought Bradley Chubb did that pretty well in the run and the pass game this game. And I'm excited to see what he can do down the stretch here, looking healthy. And you're going to bank on him taking steps forward next year. I know that's scary. That might get some eye rolls from some people given his injury history and being taken 5th overall in that 2018 draft. But
you're married to him for one more year at least.
Yes,
so
and you want him to do good.
Yeah,
I mean,
you've got him for one more year at least. He's going to make a ton of money next year, and he's going to be on a contract year. Man,
yep.
Go get somebody to pay you $20 million next year. Have that year. It's like, oh, well, he sucks and he's leaving and he's overpaid. It's like, well, you're paying him. That's done. Now you want him to be a $20 million a year guy for 2023. You may not pay him that, but you want him to have the type of season next year that someone does.
Yeah. And we got Ethan coming in here saying that was a bad, no terrible play call on the RPO with another 15-10 super. Thank you. I think I'm going to have to take exception to this. I really don't think that read option RPO wasn't the worst call in the world at all. You in the red zone, there's more numbers allocated to the box in the run game. And with that read zone option that you gave Drew Lock, which he green starred before the game, saying this is a play that I feel comfortable with. The read option, the zone read option is a middle school football install. You just have to read the defensive end. If he cuts in for the running back, you pull it in. If he gets outside, you give it to the running back. Drew Lock goes out to play hero ball and makes a terrible decision. And if you can't run a zone read option, what am I calling for you? Like, seriously, I can't call anything for you if you can't judge the defensive end on a zone read option.
Well, and the other part of that for me is running quarterbacks hand that off 90% of the time. Non-mobile quarterbacks hand that off 99% of the time. And the one time they don't, you'll see a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady, a Matt Ryan, these immobile guys, every once in a while, 1 out of 100 sneak out the backside, but it's not in a close game and it's not at the 10-yard line. Yeah. Zone read, that's handed off 99% of the time, guys. I'm sorry. That's especially when it's open.
I cannot get over how simple of a read it was. If you go back and watch the game, that defender is like 5 yards off the line with his arm out, like guarding the edge. Then you have a +1 to the right side of the line with the running back in the run blocking, and he pulls it out of the belly. You want to run the ball in the end zone. The look of the read zone was specifically to get a +1 number advantage because it's so hard to run in the red zone.
it is a pure indication of what you think about Drew Lock that you would not call that play. It's like, listen, we're not going to call this play because we think he's going to make the wrong read. That's kind of an indication on where you are with Drew Lock, isn't it? Because that's not a tough call.
I mean, it's literally a middle school install. And Shermer, maybe he shouldn't have called that. Maybe he should have just run it and not give the middle school level read to the quarterback. I guess if that's where we're at, if that's what we're saying.
It's a pretty damning indication on where we are with Drew Lock when you don't trust him to make that read.
Yeah. And I think I do want to come back here just to Drew Lock real quick. We do have the supers and everything, but we haven't even talked about Teddy's injury, but Drew Lock coming out there played better than Teddy did in this game. And you needed that offensive spark because he was pushing the ball. Now, Drew Lock's placement was erratic. His decision-making was erratic, but he was pushing the ball down the field and he made some great plays. There's some passes that with touch and arm talent that you just don't see from Teddy Bridgewater. And that's what makes Drew Lock so frustrating and so tantalizing for Broncos country is because you see those flashes and it's like catnip. You know, it's like, oh man, if he could just do that and clean up the footwork, which is still erratic as hell, then he could be a great quarterback because he has the tools and he has the moxie and like there's just kind of that X factor to him. But if you're making bad decisions and your footwork is bad, leading to bad accuracy, you cannot do that in the year 2021 in the NFL.
Nick, it's a little bit like what we were talking about with Fangio. It's like, oh, I love this. If we could just clean up these other parts of it. You know, I really like Fangio, how he calls the defensive game and sets up the defense, but it's the other part that comes with it. You know, and you think, okay, can we get him to hire a better offensive coordinator? Can we do? I don't know. Can we? He's pretty well set. So you look at Drew Lock and say, he's got the tools, good. So all we need to do is clean up this part and this part and this part. But I've said a zillion times, the hardest position to evaluate in the NFL is, well, it's probably kickers, but is quarterbacks because you rely so much on stuff that you can't measure. It's all here and here, pointing to my chest, by the way, but it's all the intangibles that you can't measure. And you can improve incrementally on those type of things, but a lot of times, you know, the it factor, so you can't measure it, but you know when someone's got it or not. And, you know, there's not a lot of faith right now in Drew Lock's ability, and you can see it across from head to toe on this Broncos team to keep the Broncos in the game. Now, here's the good news. As Peter says, the lack of wide receiver catches due to the quarterback, the O-line, receivers not getting open, combination of all three. Appreciate the stars, Peter. I think it's a big combination. There's a video of Vic on the page now where the quote is basically, it's everything. That's what he says. It's everything. You know, the scheme is bad. The offensive line's getting beat. Our quarterback play is erratic. And the wide receivers are just kind of, all right, you know what? I'm tired of running this route and not getting the ball. I remember when I played wide receiver and we were running the ball out and they're like, okay, you know, this, and this, Kennedy, you clear the zone, which is basically just a 50-yard sprint. After about 4 of those, I'm like, all right, you clear the damn zone. I'm tired. So getting back to Drew Lock, all those things would be great, but you can't count on being able to clean all those things up. And it's a tough situation right now.
Especially in the small sample size. And I get that he hasn't been the starter getting those reps, but like
that's what I was going to say, Nick. Sorry. I cut myself off instead of you. I interrupted myself and then lost my train of thought. Get some coffee. The small sample size is with a gunslinger like Lock. If he hits a hot streak for 3 games, he could go out and play really, really well before the 17-game season end up catching up to you and you start making those mistakes where you have 3 games where you make a bunch of mistakes. So he's got the arm talent to go out there and have a blinder and have a great game in 3 games in a small sample size, which would be great. It'd be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and I'm here for that because pivoting here real quick, but it does seem like Drew Lock is going to be the starter for this Raiders game, and nothing would make me happier than to see Drew Lock go out there and play an amazing game. Hopefully. I'm pulling for that, even though the ramifications might be that we have people screaming, you know, Drew Lock should be the starter in 2022, which would just make me want to gouge my eyes out. Same with people screaming, you know, Teddy has to be the starter next year. Like, no, we want to shoot higher. We have to shoot higher. This is not good enough. No doubt about it. But you're going to be probably relying on Drew Lock next week because Teddy did suffer a very scary injury. And I put my phone away last night after the game because I Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater and the offense in general deserve criticism. But when you see something like that happen with Teddy Bridgewater on the field where he is literally unconscious on the field, maybe there are some people, I think I heard some talk of him maybe even like a little bit of convulsion on the field as well. When he gave up everything on that third down, and then his face comes down and he is out, and then he doesn't even gain consciousness until he's off the field and on the way to the hospital. I mean, that transcends the results on the field and everything. So shout out to Teddy Bridgewater, and hopefully that he is okay. I know that, a lot of people talk about him, business decision Bridgewater or 2-down check down, but like there's a person behind that jersey as well. And that's his second head injury this season. So we might not see him again this season. I mean, we don't know yet. But I hope for Teddy's case that he is okay, because by all indications, say what you will about his play on the field, he's an amazing, compassionate, caring person where his heart is always in the right place. And you just do not want to see that. It's devastating to see that. So I think that's my biggest takeaway in this game. Win, loss, that sucks. Season might be over, but like, I hope Teddy is okay. Like, I was like, when he went off the field, I'm like, oh my God, I hope he can walk again.
Yeah, well said. He's been through a lot playing quarterback, and he's not the biggest, most physical dude in the world, which I think affects his play to a certain extent at times. And
wasn't it the skinny knees? Like, that was a big thing coming out of the draft where he had like the smallest knee width of any quarterback ever measured or something.
Well, and to be fair to the people that were making those comments, he almost lost a leg. Well said, Nick. Appreciate you saying that. Jake coming in says the drive before the half tells you what kind of team we are the whole season. 3 timeouts with 3 minutes, and you can tell we're trying for a field goal. Yeah, Jake, appreciate the support, my man. Sometimes I say stuff. I'm like, I heard actually, Zach say it last night about Teddy Bridgewater. Summed it up perfectly. Teddy plays like a backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. He does. You don't want your backup quarterback to come in and lose the game for you. Play super safe. Don't screw it up. There you go. You just described Teddy Bridgewater. I was like, that was perfect, Zach. Great job. Yep. And then Drew's kind of the opposite. So Drew's the guy that comes in and says, all right, now's my chance. Yay. I'm super excited. I've got to show them I belong here, and tries to do too much. A week of preparation, knowing you're the starter and bringing that edge down a little bit I think it could really help him. I think I typed in the comments last night. I said, he sounds to me almost like an MLB starter who struggles in the first inning. It's like he gives up 3 in the first and then settles down, and he's pretty good. But the problem is, are you out of it after giving up 3 or 4 in the first inning? Yeah. But I agree, Jake. This team plays right now, that you're playing not to lose. And it's super frustrating for Broncos fans. I get it. It's like the defense plays, bend but don't break. Don't give up the big play. Don't make the big play. Offense, very similar. We'll try and grind the ball down and kick field goals and win this thing. That's why I had the game as 19-16. I think I had, 4 field goals and a touchdown versus 3 field goals and a touchdown, because that's just the way I pictured this game being. I wasn't that far off.
No, you weren't. I had hoped that the pass blocking would be more efficient and Teddy could get some shots down the field and maybe you get a turnover or something. But the Broncos end up losing. I think they lose the turnover battle 2-0. And I think it's 80% of the time the team that wins the turnover battle wins the game. If you're winning it by +2 or over 2, I think the odds are like 95% that team wins the football game. So it's rough when you are not creating turnovers and giving the ball away to win football games. But it's where we're at. It's unfortunately. You talk about Drew Lock being a little bit amped up for the beginning of the game and kind of slows down. It reminds me of my dog. I'm missing my dog right now. He's back in Seattle. I'm in Iowa. But like the first half mile of the walk, pulling every way. Oh, this smells great. Oh, there's a dog over there. Oh, dump truck. They might throw me a milk bone. That'd be amazing. And then about half mile in, and he's like, okay, we're on the walk now. It's great. So that's kind of where I see Drew Lock. Sorry to compare him to my dog. That's where my head is.
Mine's 8.5, and he lags butt behind for the first 3/4 of the walk. And then once we almost get home, he's like, all right, now I'm going. We're almost heading back. Home. I made it.
Yeah. Nope. Totally. That's great. I've got Base Case coming here saying playoffs chances less than 5% for me. Peyton needs to conduct interviews next week to get ahead of the curve. Can't wait till the end of the season. I think that if they lose to the Raiders next week, you might see that happen. That's a possibility to get that head of the curve, because this is a bad Raiders team, and maybe that's not fair. And it's a little bit a dark comedy for me that Fangio's season might come down to Drew Lock at the Raiders because like this is the situation that he did not want to be in, and yet here we are in inevitability, right? But this is a good point from Base Case here that maybe the Broncos want to get a head start on the head coaching search. I still think that Fangio has a chance to keep his job. Say what you will about that. That's just talking to people in the organization. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but we'll see. We got 3 more games, and Broncos still have a chance.
There's always a chance that he comes back because if you can't upgrade, you got to have a pretty good idea who your next guy is before you get rid of the guy you've got. Unless it's just completely not working out. I kind of talk about it like, boyfriends and girlfriends, kind of like how my next one lined up. Am I going to upgrade or not? Unless I just absolutely cannot stand being with this person, then we need to separate. So yeah, I think a general manager's got a list of at least 3 people on his Rolodex at all times, basically for every position in the entire franchise. Who's my next guy? If this guy walks away tomorrow, if he quits, something happens, gets in a car wreck and he's out, who's my next guy on the call? So those discussions have been happening with agents all year. And Miguel coming in with more stars. You're killing it today, Miguel. Appreciate you. As a responsible franchise with Teddy's second injury, this should he be on the bench for a couple of weeks, rest of the season. I don't care if he was playing lights out and this was 9-5 right now. I don't want him back in. Second big head injury this year. We're not convinced that he recovered fully from his first one that he suffered in the Ravens game. I don't want to see him. Honestly, I don't know that I want to see Teddy Bridgewater playing football again. He got a $66 million contract from the Panthers. Dude, make sure you can pick up your kids and spell your name when you're 40 years old.
It's a little too early for me to say anything like that because I want to see where we're at a week from now, 2 weeks from now with Teddy. But I said it when the Broncos, maybe it's a little bit soon, but after the Broncos lost that Browns game, maybe it's time just, throw Lock out there and, just let it be what it is. And Teddy had some good games since then. He was really good against the Cowboys in that first half, and he had a good game against the Chargers. Made some great plays, actually, but it's just it's obvious that Teddy's not the answer. And now with the injury that he's had last season in Denver, I'm fine. I would be fine playing Drew Lock. I don't think the offensive staff or the coaching staff trusts Lock as far as they can throw him, and they would rather put out Teddy. But like somebody, maybe it's the agent or somebody needs to step in for Teddy and be like, listen, with the 2 head injuries, and he's also not been the same since that Ravens game. He's been a bottom 12 quarterback statistically in football, which is closer to average than we were last year, but still bottom 12 quarterback since those great 3-week games and suffering that injury against Baltimore. So definitely not going to see him this week. And maybe Drew Lock against a absolutely terrible Raiders defense goes out there and plays well. And then you can ride that down the stretch and maybe he gets hot and you see something there. I think we've seen enough from Drew Lock that I wouldn't bet on that. But go ahead.
Well, what would be great is if Drew goes out there and plays really well in a short sample size. And let's say you've already made up your mind on Drew Lock. I think the Broncos probably already have. What happened? Let's keep this in the Teddy conversation. What happened with Teddy when he went 4-0 or 5-0 with the New Orleans Saints? Prior to that, I think 2018, he was a 1-year, $6 million deal. 2019, I think he was, and it may have been a year before, but the point is he was a 1-year, $7 million deal. Mm-hmm. That's Teddy Bridgewater. He goes out there and goes 4-0 for the Saints, and what happens? The Panthers lose their freaking minds and gave him 3 years, $66 million. If Drew goes out and plays great, not only is it fun, but all it does with another year of control of the Drew Lock, if you want to get rid of him, it ups his sale value. Now maybe you get a third for Drew Lock if you want to move him and move on from him. Maybe you get a second. Maybe somebody gets really stupid. There's a lot of stupid decisions that get made around quarterbacks in this league. Right, Jets? Right, Panthers?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm really afraid that unfortunately this is going to be the Broncos are now one of those desperate teams, right? And in this upcoming draft class, there's some talk talking with Andrew Mason where like the Broncos, if they don't get Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, maybe they're trading up in the draft to go get one of these quarterbacks. And that scares the bleep out of me because this draft class, nobody inspires confidence for me right now. And there are about 6 guys that I like. Just take one that falls to you. You don't have to overpay. Right. There's other options out there. So I don't know. And I know that there's desperation out there and people want things to happen, but hopefully they find a guy. I'm really afraid that they're coming in from a position of weakness and desperation, and that could lead to a decision at the quarterback position that could have ramifications for this team for years down the road. I mean, say what you will about Teddy Bridgewater. That was a 2021 decision. Okay, didn't work. We're moving on. I don't want a decision at the quarterback where it's like, okay, well, it's 2025 now, and those 3 years are down the drain. And the roster we had around this that was really good and young, now we've lost these guys. We paid guys. Everybody's older, and we have to reset everything. That scares the absolute bleep out of me.
This is one of the favorite phrases for Nick. We owe it to this guy to give him a chance.
God.
We drafted him in the first round. We owe him the chance to make sure that he gets the chance to develop. Ooh, there's 52 other guys on the team that might not agree with you if you got the wrong guy.
Yeah, I feel the same way about recruits in college football. You're a 5-star. I don't give a bleep if you were a 5-star. You go out there, and if a 0-star beats you out, sorry, buddy. Like that
You're
sucks.
all 1 stars when you arrive.
Exactly.
That was the
I don't
phrase
care.
I used. You're all 1 stars when you arrive.
100%. 100%. And if you don't go out there and make the most of your opportunity, that's on you, because there's other guys out there that I'll take a shot on then that want to be here. And just like when a good program goes out there and recruits a 5-star cornerback one year, I respect the hell out of recruiters that come in and say, listen, we want you here, but guess what I'm doing next year? I'm getting your replacement on this roster. So you better bring it.
Try and replace you.
Yes.
Yep.
And
That's my
should
job.
be the same at the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And Ethan says, and he made this comment last night, and it was worth repeating for sure. We got to see what Drew Lock is not, what Teddy Bridgewater is not, and what the coaching staff is not, all in one game.
Yeah.
That said, I hope Teddy Bridgewater is okay, because he's a good dude. Yeah, I mean, you're watching that game. It encapsulated the Denver Broncos. Poor clock management, weak decision making, poor play calling, solid defense, good running game, some good plays from your wide receivers, some bad plays from your wide receivers. You got to see it all right there. Is that good enough? Do you see enough there that makes you think, yeah, we're headed in the right direction, or not? I think I know the answer. That was kind of rhetorical.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the quarterback, and really it's hard to see past the quarterbacks when Teddy Bridgewater's limiting the offense, because he has the fatal lack of tools in combination. Like Teddy Bridgewater's arm talent would be fine if he was an incredible athlete out there, like running the football. That you can live with that, because then you're creating some space because of the athlete. But he's not that guy. And then he also lacks the arm talent. So it's like he's not enough in either of those categories, and it limits the offense. Drew Lock, he has the equal plus maybe just a little bit better athleticism than Bridgewater, and a definitely better arm, but the mechanics, the decision making, it's just not enough. And I saw that, I think it was Jeremy saying, you better support Lock. Go check my Twitter yesterday during the game, and I was screaming for Drew Lock. I want to go to the gosh darn playoffs. And if that's with Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater, I don't care. I'm cheering for the Broncos quarterback, going to critique them either way. But you want that to happen. So it'll be interesting to see. And Drew Lock's going to get a chance against the worst defense the Broncos will play the rest of the season. The Raiders do not look very good. We'll see how he does. And it's not all going to be on Drew Lock either. Receivers have to step up. The pass protection has to step up. I don't think we're talking enough about the pass protection. I'm really curious to go back in this game and look at the pressure rates for Teddy Bridgewater, because it felt like the Browns defensive line was eating the Broncos up in pass protection all game long. So hopefully,
I know it's hard to keep these straight, especially when you're talking about Paul Brown, but this one was actually the Bengals. You just had flashbacks watching this game, not the Browns.
Excuse me. Gosh. Yeah. They got after it, and Drew gave them a spark, and you want them to push the ball down the field. And at least you're going to see that next week, I think, with Drew Lock. Hopefully that'll open up the run game some as well. He just can you avoid the big stupid mistake? Because that kills you. You just cannot live with it. So hoping for the best. Hopefully we have a little bit more fun.
This is one of the sentiments I see a lot. And Fangio kind of feeds to it, because he wants more practice time. He uses it as a chance, no, we don't give them enough time because they don't let us practice enough. That was how he kind of added that yesterday with the NFL Players Association limiting practice time. How are we supposed to get backups ready? David says, how can you get ready for a job if you literally sit on the sidelines of practice and watch Teddy do it all? You can only get ready if he's given a chance to get ready, and when you are limited. That's part of being a professional, though. That's part of the job, is to be absolutely 100% ready and sharp when your number is called, and to get your chance. When you get your chance, to take advantage of it. He's been playing, these guys have been playing football for a long time. Are you going to be ready right away? Maybe. And this week, I think, will help the mental part of the game. Physically, that's the game, David. That's part of being part of backup quarterback right now, is being ready when you're called upon. Not once, not twice, not 3 times. 3 times Drew Lock has come in, and on none of those times we've been able to say, yeah, he's really grabbed that bull by the horns and says, this is my job. I belong here. He's really gone out there and showed why he's not. And like I said, this isn't advocating for Teddy Bridgewater, because I said in July, if Teddy Bridgewater wins his job, you've got a new quarterback in 2023. It might be one of these guys next year holding down the fort for one more season until you get your guy. It just means that neither one of these guys, it means the Broncos don't think they've got the guy on the roster. And I haven't seen anything this year that made me change my mind.
Yeah, no, totally. And I just think it'd be like Drew Lock throwing it at 10 yards out of bounds on 4th down was just like, well, here we are. And if it was, no matter what, people are going to be ticked off. But like it's the same. You're just changing the name on the back, but the outcome is the same regardless. Maybe the path there looks different, but the destination is the same. Not your guy. Hopefully moving on, being aggressive at the quarterback position this season, not being stupidly aggressive at the quarterback position. I cannot advocate that enough. If it means another season of a Bridgewater-like quarterback, I will take that and eye rolling for sure from some of you guys. I will take a Bridgewater-esque season in 2022 if it means it's not, a Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian-esque season for 3 or 4 seasons. That kills you. Miguel coming in, saying smash that like button. Thank you so much, Miguel. Thank you for supporting us. Glad to talk to you on Twitter last night as well. And also, I think I just gave you a follow on Twitter as well. So a shout out to Miguel. Appreciate you, buddy.
Yep. There's a lot of comments in here, about what I had just said, about coming in and playing. Says, well, Locke was better than Teddy. Yeah, I actually tweeted it yesterday. So this is your chance. This is your chance to come in because 1, there's plenty of time. 2, it's a close game. And 3, the bar has been set incredibly low because Teddy Bridgewater hasn't been good. Sometimes I see that y'all stop covering for Teddy. I'm not covering for Teddy. Teddy hasn't been great this year. Teddy's a stopgap until you get your guy. The fact that his agent's out there peddling, I want $20 million for my client along those lines. That's his agent's job.
There was some pushback.
That's his agent's job. If you don't want me to hit the free agent market, then you need to. This is what I'm looking for. Otherwise, my house isn't for sale. I want $5 million for my house. Well, you're crazy. Well, my house isn't for sale. If you want to buy my house from me, you're going to overpay. So again, some of the comparisons I saw coming in, about the linebackers coming in and having, fresh off another team and coming in and playing right away and really taking their spots. Jonathan Cooper coming in right away. Baron Browning coming off and really taking advantage. Now, that's different than playing quarterback. I get that. But that's the job. That's the job in the NFL is when your chance comes up to be ready and to take advantage of it and show that you belong to be in the starting lineup. And again, I haven't seen any reason to think that I see the quarterback of the future on this Broncos squad.
Yep. I agree with you. Drew does have one more year. And you talked about this being Drew Lock's biggest chance. Drew Lock made the fatal error in this game. He did move the football and made some good throws. His placement was still all over the place, but that stems back to footwork, and his footwork is still an issue like it was at Mizzou, but he did breathe life into this offense. Is that the backup quarterback effect, the team being galvanized with what happened with Teddy Bridgewater? I mean, who knows? But we are really going to see a lot with Drew Lock in this Vegas game. We have people coming in now. Man, you can't be pro Drew or anti Drew or pro Teddy or anti Teddy. I'm just pro Broncos. That's what I want. So this week it's going to be a Drew Lock game probably, and that means that you hope he can move this offense against the worst defense the Broncos will play the rest of the season. Raiders team that is, I mean, they're going to play cover 3, cover 1 till the horses come home. That's just what they're going to do.
It's almost a politics at this point. It's yeah, my guy might be bad, but yours is worse. Well, the problem is my guy's bad. Let's fix that. It's like, I'm not, again, Teddy, I hope he's okay. And honestly, I don't really want to see him playing again. Like I said a few minutes ago, but Teddy's not the answer. He never was. Could Drew have been the answer? I don't know. I haven't seen anything that makes me think so to this point. So it's time to move on. I'm not going to say which one's better. Neither one of them are very good. That's the problem.
Yep. I agree with you. Well, guys, I'm actually going to be off here and running. I'm going to go see my grandparents for the first time since like July 2020. So we need to wrap it up, and I need to go get ready and take care of all of that. But thank you guys so much. And before we get on out of here, again, one more shout out to Teddy Bridgewater. I know that he's been very polarizing. The quarterback position in Denver has been polarizing this season. But the biggest thing coming out of this game for me, I didn't even want to talk quarterbacks after last night's game because I was just thinking about Teddy Bridgewater, the person, and the injury he had was horrifying, really scary. And I know that he's in the hospital. He does have movement in his extremities and whatnot, but that's his second head injury this season. And you don't want to see that. That's always the sacrifice or the potential when you are in the game like football. But Teddy gave it his all on that third down and took the hit and paid a big price. So shout out to him. Maybe the Broncos season is over, but we're hoping that Teddy Bridgewater's career / potential down the line livelihood isn't over as well with that scary head potential neck injury. So I just really, again, it's the holiday season. That's a lot of toxicity with the quarterback and the Broncos losing. I get that, but I do think we really need to understand that that's a person, and that trumps everything else for me. That's just my big takeaway. So thank you guys so much. We love you. Oh man, we got saying, Nick, you need to go easy on the coffee. I need to get another cup of coffee. Actually, typically I have more than I've had today, but
well, and Sisto Rosales, that's a new name. So welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Have you seen his night shows?
God,
It's not coffee anymore. He's on the greenies, I think. Come nighttime, he is wired. So
yeah,
this is laid back, Nick.
And my issue too is not to get way off we got to get on out of here, but I listen to all my podcasts and everything on 2 times because I want to be efficient, and I can understand what they're saying. But that means that when I'm here, I'm like talking
Alvin and the Chipmunks podcast.
They do not do the pitch does not go up, but the speed is double. So it's not terrible in that way, but like I'm just being efficient. I've maximized my efficiency. So I am typically pretty wired and get pretty hyped. I try to be analytically based, but I'm a person too. So hope you guys are pretty well. We do got to get on out of here. Hopefully Teddy's well, and I think we're going to get a Drew Lock game next week against the Raiders. Just go beat the goddamn Raiders. It's just, you go, I don't even, draft position, Broncos are picking 15 now. They got a chance at a top 10 pick if they lose 2 of their next 3, I think. Picking top 10 in with an 8-9 record is crazy. But that kind of just shows the glut of teams in the middle this season. Yeah, Scott, I know that's a trigger for Scott. But we appreciate all you guys coming in here. We love you guys coming in, even though the season may be potentially over. We're still going to be here. We're going to be talking the Raiders game coming up. We're going to be talking the ramifications of this Bengals game, the offseason, the head coaching search, potentially the draft, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe this isn't the team that gets the playoffs, that gets you over the hump this year, but it does feel like this is a good roster. Things are pushing in the right direction, and you want to be in on the ground floor. Like it's an investment opportunity. Buy in now, because later the stocks for the Broncos are going to be 10 times more expensive. So get in now. We're going to have some fun with it, and make sure you're sticking around here at Mile High Huddle for these shows with the Huddle Up podcast. Follow Scott and myself on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy, and I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you are following us at Huddle Up Pod as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you guys haven't gotten the gear yet, I don't have the hat right now, but Scott's drinking from the mug. I wasn't going to fly with that much across country. I didn't want to lose anything, but go to huddleuppod.com to get your gear, coffee mugs, hats, shirts, sweatshirts, gaiters, beanie, all the stuff. It's good stuff, and it can really help support us. And when you get that stuff, also add us on Twitter and show us the love. That'd be great to see that you guys rocking the gear. Go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And make sure that you subscribe, like, and share to Mile High Huddle on YouTube. And also, shout out here. I didn't do it in the intro, but shout out here to Scott's page. If you guys haven't followed there yet, youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Scott just reached 1K. I saw that you were really close, and I'm like, I'm going to push this. I'm going to share it on Facebook. I'm going to share it on the Facebook groups. I am going to share it on Twitter. And you shared it as well, which got a lot, but you did it.
I put out the call to action on Friday or Thursday night, I think, and pushed over 1,000. And newsflash, nobody knows this, so this is a breaking news announcement, is I did get approved for monetization.
Hey.
So the channel that we're going to be doing, we're going to start doing a lot more on my channel, including the draft shows, because Nick and I are both big draft fiends. And Muhammad coming in late. See, we stick around a lot. So, but
Right.
I could not have done it without you. I could not have done it without the Broncos community.
You guys, not me.
And Muhammad saying thank you. I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it without y'all. So I'll never forget that. And we'll always be doing Broncos-esque content. And when you come into our channel, I certainly recognize all the names that have helped support me and support us through this time. And I'm really looking forward to 2022 as a YouTuber, as a YouTuber on here. So thanks again, everybody.
Yeah, and also just a serious note here, real quick. I forgot to mention. I had a note here that I wanted to mention it, but the game kind of trumped talking about this just with the time flow. But today is Demarius Thomas's celebration of life at down in Georgia, and Broncos are sending 40 people in a charter to Atlanta for Demarius Thomas's celebration of life today. And Garrett Bowles will be there. Kareem Jackson will be there, which is good news because I think he was injured yesterday. I think he even carted off. So hopefully Kareem's okay, but he's going to be there. Shelby Harris will be there. Justin Simmons will be there as well. So bigger things than football, obviously. Teddy hopefully being healthy, and Demarius Thomas's celebration of life. And he did live even though it was a short life, he did live a life. So thinking about all of them going on and thinking about you guys at the holidays. Stay safe, be kind, choose compassion. And 3 more games. We're going to enjoy the heck out of them because we're going to miss them when they're gone. Outcome playoffs or not, we're going to make sure we live in the moment and enjoy them. So you guys have a great one. Go Broncos.